Welcome to another STEM career interview. My guest this week is Graeme Rough, who worked as a mechanical services engineer for 6 years before going to university to get a degree in physics and a diploma in secondary education, both from the University of Glasgow. And he is currently the head of STEM programs at SSERC. Graeme, welcome to STEM with Mr. N.
Thanks very much, Stuart. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for giving up your time to be here. To start off with, could you tell us a bit about SSERC and what your role with SSERC involves?
Sure. So SSERC it's an acronym. It stands for the Scottish Schools Education Research Centre, although we're just known as SSERC to everybody in Scotland. I've been with SSERC for about 2.5 years now. My job is the head of STEM programmes. So it's an amazing job. I'm so lucky because what it means is I get to manage and lead and basically help STEM programs, teachers, pupils all over Scotland. I basically get to play a part in how STEM education takes place across Scotland. And also really exciting, there's a creative aspect where a big bit of my job is to look at new offers that we can put out there to help teachers and pupils learn more about STEM. So really in charge of all of the STEM programs that SSERC offer to people in Scotland and beyond.
Okay. And I missed in my introduction there, you were a science teacher for 10 years as well. So I'm going to go back to the start of your STEM journey. What first got you interested in STEM?
I'll be honest and say I don't really know, because you could probably go way back to when I was a tiny wee boy, and I don't know, maybe it was the toys I played with or the things I watched on TV. So there's no sort of eureka moment where I thought, oh, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a physicist. Probably just the type of things that I got sucked into and interested in as a wee boy. But the one thing I was always mesmerised by, and still am, and slightly scared of, is flying. And I know that way back when I look at even the pictures I drew when I was in primary one with my crayons, all the way through, even to now, as a guy who's a little bit older, I was always interested in aeroplanes, aviation, airports, flight, all of that sort of stuff. I've never really worked in that space, but that was certainly an area of STEM that captured my imagination. And probably equally so was space. So probably that first time I thought about or learned about space, probably in primary school, that's when I think I was hooked on STEM. And then all the other things that I've got into over the years, like forces, electricity, engineering, that's all just come and snowballed and been part of it. So there was no real moment in my life where I thought, STEM's for me. I think it was probably a more gradual thing throughout my childhood and then into my teenage years.
So without that sort of eureka moment of STEM is my thing, what then led you to becoming a mechanical engineer? Sorry, a mechanical services engineer.
That's right, a mechanical services engineer. That was really, I guess, a function of the kind of time. So when I left school at the end of S4, which is really unusual now, you know, very few people leave school at the end of S4, but back in 1996, so people can work at my age now, back in 1996, that was quite common actually. You know, most normal working class guys like myself would leave school at the end of S4 and go into an apprenticeship. I probably could have stayed on at school and done hires and went to uni, but I probably wasn't ready. And to be honest, I probably wasn't mature enough. But a very typical route for guys like myself and my friends, we would leave school and get into apprenticeships. So it was kind of normal. It was the done thing. My brothers did it. My mates all did it. So I wanted to get into industry, get an apprenticeship, get a job, start earning money, and sort of leave school at 4th year and become a working man, so to speak, even though I was only 16. So that's what I did. And I went into mechanical services engineering, which is still probably, I still see as probably the most important and most formative part of my career. It's the bit I'm still most proud of, and it's probably where I did the most learning as well.
Could you tell us a wee bit about what being a mechanical services engineer involves?
Sure. So it was a 4-year apprenticeship, and I was working with South Lanarkshire Council, who at the time had a big team of technical services. So a whole group of men and women who basically went out and fixed things in council properties like schools and fire stations and all these sorts of places. So that's who I worked for and who I worked with. It was a 4-year apprenticeship was actually broken into 2 years, 1 year and 1 year. So the first 2 years was about basically installing large scale heating systems. So the type of heating system you'd have in a primary school, a secondary school, a hospital. And it was installing all of the pipe work, the radiators and all the important mechanical services that basically keep a building warm and everyone comfortable within it. And all the safety mechanisms as well to make sure that nothing goes wrong and no one gets hurt in the process. Then the 3rd year of my apprenticeship was learning how to weld. So a particular type of welding using gas to basically melt metal and join it together. And then my 4th year was electric arc welding, which was obviously still welding, but that was about using high current electricity to do the same thing as 3rd year, basically to melt metal and join it back together. So, you know, I can be fancy and say I was a mechanical services engineer. Really, in plain language, I was a pipe fitter and a welder.
But mechanical services engineer sounds a bit more interesting than just saying.
We use the fancy title, you know, add a bit of glory.
So when you left that to go and get your degree in physics, and I see that you got your diploma in education straight after that, were you leaving with the aim to become a physics teacher, or did that come during your physics degree?
I definitely wasn't leaving with the aim to become a teacher. That came near the end of my degree when I realised, and I was given some really good advice and support from people at university who I'll always be thankful to, who really, I always remember this one day where my advisor of studies at uni said, you know, have you thought about teaching and you'd be a good teacher? And I think that was one of these things that someone says something to you that you know they're right and you just carry that with you. No, I had a really good time in engineering, and I had a successful time, and I won a couple of awards, Apprentice of the Year awards. So I knew I was good at it, and I knew I had potential to go further. So I started looking at other courses. So when my apprenticeship finished, which was a 4-year college course as well as working, I was actually quite sad. I didn't want it to end. I made so many good pals who worked for other companies, and I didn't want that training aspect to end. I still had loads I wanted to learn and do. And there was nothing really left working with the council. There was no more courses to do. That was very much, well, your apprenticeship's finished, deal with it. So I started looking at other things I could do. And then I thought, that idea that I said earlier, I left school at the end of S4. I always felt I probably was good enough and able enough to go to uni, but I didn't. So maybe that was something in the back of my mind. I thought, right, now's the time. I'm a bit older, a bit wiser. I was 22 by this point, and I thought, right, I want to go to uni, see what all the fuss is about, and that's what I did. And I basically quit my job. And at that point, you know, I was earning good money, and I quit my job, and I said, that's it, I'm going to uni. And I decided physics was the one at high school that I was really good at and I loved as a subject. I also loved English, but I didn't want to go into languages, arts. I wanted to get into a STEM degree. So I applied to Glasgow Uni, and I did my I get into a degree in physics. I didn't have hires at that point, so I just had my standard grades, which are national 5s nowadays. So I had to go to night school. So before I quit my job, I went to night school and I did higher physics and maths. And then that allowed me to get into Glasgow University, and I did a degree in physics, which took me 4 years to do.
That's interesting to hear that you've not gone the conventional route that a lot of people think of. You go through primary school, high school, and straight into uni. You've gone out and done the life experience bit first before coming back in. Do you think that's added value to then what you have done later on as you've progressed in a STEM career?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, I'm not saying it makes me a better teacher than any other teacher, definitely not, but it's helped me as a teacher especially to sort of know where the real life applications are. So when I was a physics teacher, there probably wasn't a day that I didn't rely on my experience in industry to really help me be a better teacher, and to be saying to the pupils in my class, look, actually there's jobs out there that will use this. The old thing, and you'll have it yourself, Stuart, when a pupil says, when am I ever going to need this, you know, in the real world? And every day I'm saying, you know, the maths that we're learning, the languages, the science, the technology, all of this is going to be in the job, or the jobs you'll end up doing. So yeah, definitely, that's all definitely helped me. Do you know the other thing as well? It helped my self-confidence. So going into jobs, I'm also able to sort of shut my eyes and think back and say, do you know what? I've had a couple of really good experiences, whether it was in engineering or at university. So it's about my own self-confidence to say, no, do you know what, Graeme, you're able to do this, you're good enough to do this, and you've got experience in other areas that are going to help you here. So that's quite important as well. I've relied on it from a personal level, not just to sort of, you know, improve what I do, but also to encourage myself to do the next thing, you know.
And you're right that a lot of children do ask that about when am I going to use this, and as I point out to them, everything that exists in the world is due to STEM. Everything that we've got, everything that we use, and the careers are just going more and more in that direction as technology and everything else advances. So on that note, I see on your background you've got the Young STEM Leader programme to help support pupils in their STEM learning. Can you tell us a bit about what the Young STEM Leader programme is?
Sure. I love what you said there, and you're so right, Stuart, that STEM obviously stands for science, technology, engineering and maths, but it's so much more. And the huge thing about the Young STEM Leader programme is it's saying STEM's everything. So exactly what you said there. Don't just think about science, technology, engineering, maths. No matter what anybody does, it's linked to STEM. What we're doing right now, you know, talking over Zoom, using headsets and the web, this is STEM. We're immersed in STEM right now. And, you know, we talk to young people who they maybe think, I'm not so interested in science, but I love gaming, or I love football, or I'm into photography, or a couple of girls that we were working with are really passionate about animal welfare. They want to look after animals. And I'm saying, do you know what? STEM is part of all of that. So the Young STEM Leader programme, two main things is it allows young people from primary, secondary, college, no matter what age they're doing, to basically take something that they're interested in and lead it to other people. So, you know, I'm going to show you how to work a camera. I'm going to show you how to make a website. I'm going to take a skill or an interest of mine and I'm going to show others how to do it. It might be people younger than me. It might be my mum and dad. It might be teachers. I might show teachers how to use Google Classroom. Who knows? And that just makes you a young STEM leader by sharing your STEM skills with someone else, or learning STEM skills with someone else as well. You don't need to be an expert, of course, because none of us are. But it's also about empowering young people as well. It's about giving young people the chance to lead. So, you know, you and I are both teachers, and that's our job. Our job is to stand up in class and lead and teach and hopefully inspire and engage kids in education. But the Young STEM Leader also gives young people the chance to do that job as well. And sometimes they're really good at that as well. You don't need to be a teacher to lead and inspire. So it's about saying to the young people in our classrooms all over the country to say, look, do you guys want to lead something? Do you want to lead a competition? Do you want to lead a challenge? Do you want to build a website? Do you want to run a club? And if you're up for it, let's do it, and go and learn and develop and grow as a Young STEM Leader. And in the process, you're going to learn loads about yourself, leadership, but you're also going to get awards. So you can earn digital badges. The 4 badges at primary level are Discover, Create, Inspire and Lead. So you're going to gain 4 badges. And then as you move into the high school sort of levels, you can gain an actual qualification to go along with the national 5s or higher or whatever else you get at the end of high school.
So how can children and young people get involved in the Young STEM Leader programme?
It's really easy. So the programme it's basically offered to every young person in Scotland. So it's the Scottish Government who basically created it. Well, they didn't create it. They came up with the idea of the Young STEM Leader programme. And then SSERC's job, my job, was basically to produce and create the Young STEM Leader programme. So any teacher in Scotland, any community leader, youth work leader, Brown Owl, Scout leader, any of them can just contact SSERC and say, you know what, we've heard about the Young STEM Leader Programme, we're really interested in it, and we think this would be brilliant for our students or pupils or members. So the teacher gets trained, and I know, Stuart, you're a trained tutor assessor for the Young STEM Leader Programme, so you're very proactive. And the teacher does a quick bit of training with us at SSERC, and then that's them. They can go and run the programme in their school and just get cracking with it and let the young people lead STEM and gain their awards. It's really that easy.
So aside from getting involved in something like the Young STEM Leader Programme, have you got any general advice for children and young people out there who are interested in STEM but not sure how to pursue it forward? Get any advice about what they can do?
Definitely. First thing I'd say is you don't need to be an expert, because none of us are, let's face it. Don't be scared of STEM either. You know, don't just see it as science, technology, engineering and math. STEM's everything and everywhere. You know, we've got Young STEM Leader Programme's a great example of a young guy who he's into mountain biking, and he repairs mountain bikes, and he shows other people how to do it, and how to look after their bike. That's STEM, that's engineering. And by showing other people, he's a leader. And it's about saying, look, STEM's everywhere, you know, so you have a place in STEM no matter who you are, whether you're a toddler, a primary kid, an older person. Everybody's involved in STEM, and we all rely so heavily on STEM in our lives as well. And don't be scared of the bits that you can't do or the bits that are hard. You'll either figure it out or someone will help you, you know, and maybe things like maths as well. There's lots of things in life and in education that aren't easy and don't come to us straight away. So it takes a bit of time, takes a bit of work, but you'll get there. So not to be scared, and just to take on challenges, and also understand that you're going to get things wrong as well. I mean, in work, I've made so many mistakes. I've went down different paths and decided I didn't want to do things any longer. So don't think what you do is the final decision and you're stuck to it forever. If that was the case, I would still be an engineer with the council, but I'm not. I've gone and had 3 or 4 different jobs. So know that you're going to do loads of different things. Your interests and passions will change, and the jobs you do will change. And look for something that you're interested in, and do something that keeps you interested and alive. You know, if you're into, for example, sport, find a career that links to that. If you're going into STEM, if you're into engineering, if you're into photography or art, there's always something that you can do, and it'll almost always link to STEM as well.
Some terrific points in there, especially about following your interests and being able to change career. I was the same, you know, I've had a couple of different jobs in my life, and you move and you pursue what interests you. And one of the very important points I think you made at the start there in that answer was when you said STEM is for everyone. And there's been a lot of talk over the years, and especially recently, about representation within STEM, about getting more girls involved in STEM or people from different backgrounds. Are you finding that improving within what SSERC is doing and the Young STEM Leader Programme, for example? Is it more evenly represented?
It is. I mean, there's still work to do. You're totally right. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what age you are, also how, you know, academically able, and I hate that term, you know, defining people by their academic ability, because ability is not fixed. We are growing and developing and getting smarter every day as people. But where you live, where you're from, you know, it really does not matter. Everybody's got a place in STEM. Everybody's got a future in STEM. And by the way, I strongly believe there's a job waiting for everybody in STEM as well if they want it. And if that job doesn't exist, you know, start your own business and do it. So I totally agree with that. A big bit of the Young STEM Leader Programme is challenging the stereotypes in STEM. You know, some of the ridiculous views that people used to have about STEM, you know, like, oh, that's a boy's job or that's a girl's subject. Thankfully, we're starting to kill all of that, you know, those silly views off. We're really proud of that. Also, elitism in STEM. So some statistics, and I can't remember the exact number, but it's something like 78% of people who have done the Young STEM Leader Programme say that the Young STEM Leader Programme is challenging elitism in STEM. That's really important. That's one that's you know, big for me. Like when I was in my late teens, because I was doing an apprenticeship as an engineer, and because I hadn't chosen to go to university, you know, maybe elitism, people would look and say, oh, look at him, he didn't go to uni, you know, he's not as bright and as able as me. That hurts, you know. So we're trying to challenge elitism in STEM and show that you don't all need to rush off to uni, you can do technician-based jobs, etc. So we're challenging elitism in STEM. A really pleasing statistic just from a couple of weeks ago is we looked at all the different people who are doing the Young STEM Leader programme, and actually, believe it or not, there's more people doing the Young STEM Leader programme just now. It's like 53% who are identifying as female, who are completing the Young STEM Leader Award. So give or take a few percent, we've actually almost got a perfect balance in terms of sex of young STEM leaders who are completing the programme. So we're really, really pleased to see that it's not just all the boys or all the girls or however they identify. It's not one group that's doing it. So that's really, really pleasing. But what we need to make sure as teachers and at SSERC is that we don't, you know, give up, and we always make sure that everyone is accessing the programme. It's not just for a certain group of people, it's for every young person in Scotland.
So the work that you do, and obviously did do in the classroom as a physics teacher, and now with SSERC and promoting these programmes for young people, you're obviously going to be a mentor and potentially a role model to the people that you've taught and people you're involved with at SSERC. Yep. Did you have any STEM mentors or role models as you went through your different careers, university, etc.?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And they're huge people, you know, and you always look back and know that it's the things they said and did that helped you along the way and made a difference. I mean, certainly some teachers in my school at high school. I'll be honest, I didn't massively enjoy high school. I did well at high school, and I was decent in terms of I got decent results. I didn't massively enjoy it, but I went and I did it and I got on with it. My physics teacher was brilliant. And when I became a physics teacher, I actually got to meet him, which was kind of weird. So Mr. Payton, he was just a brilliant physics teacher. I think everybody who got taught by him loved him. My English teacher as well. And again, it's important to point that out. You know, we don't see that closely linked to STEM, although you need languages. Mrs. Loudon was my English teacher, and that was my two kind of joint favourite subjects in school. So those two definitely were my first inspirational educators, if you like. When I went into my apprenticeship, there was definitely 2 or 3 guys who mentored me and looked after me there. So 2 guys, both called Andy, I would have to say, were superb. They basically trained me and mentored me. So they were superb guys, and I'm still friends with both of them. And they almost, in the world of industry, were almost like father figures, looked after me and made sure that I was going to become the best engineer I could. Through university, maybe not so much, but one particular advisor of studies who was the person who really helped me think about teaching, Ron Crawford. And he was the guy I'll never forget one day that said, you know, I think you'd make a really good teacher. And that was it. It just stuck. And that's when I started looking at volunteering and helping do a bit of physics teaching. So those were definitely my mentors. And then when I went into teaching, the list's too long, but when I actually went into teaching, there was people who mentored me as well, because first few years in teaching, you need a lot of help, and definitely Mr. Clements, who is still the head of science at Duncanrig in East Kilbride, who's now just one of my really good pals, but he was absolutely my mentor and my boss when I was a new teacher. So they're probably the ones that stick in my mind, who I probably owe a lot to for helping me through my career.
And it's great to hear that these inspirations and mentors, it wasn't, you know, really famous scientists or things like that. It was the people round about you, your teachers, people that you worked with. And I think that's really important to see the inspiration and find the mentors round about you. So I think that is a brilliant note to leave off this interview on. Graeme, it's been brilliant having you. It's been very interesting, your story about your different routes and careers. It's been very inspiring, hopefully, for the young people out there that are listening. So thank you for giving up some of your time to join us today.
You're very welcome, Stuart. It's been so nice speaking to you. Thanks very much for this opportunity.